Occidental Nutrition YouTube channel. I am Mary Sheila Ganella, your host. In today's episode, I am going to be sharing with you kitchen hacks, not just from my own kitchen, but from a colleague and natural chef friend of mine named Brooke Wilson. And we're going to share those with you. And then we are going to make Brooke's delicious almond sauce. So if you love a good peanut sauce, but you want to change it up a little bit, this almond sauce is amazing. And then I'm going to show you how you can make it a little bit different if almonds aren't your thing, which they're not my thing because I'm allergic to them. Hey, Brooke, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. I'm so glad you're here. So just a little bit about Brooke. She is a board certified holistic nutritionist and a natural chef. Her gift is really empowering people to take charge of their health and inspiring them to bring out their inner chef because she believes it's in all of us. And I think that is such an incredible gift because it's really so important for everyone to feel kind of comfortable and confident to nourish themselves with food, right? And I think for some people that's kind of lost, isn't it? And you have a blog, and your blog is called Summertime Wellness.
Yes, Summertime Wellness, time like the herb time, THYME.
Yeah. Nice. And we're gonna link that in the show notes. You just recently made a big move, didn't you?
I did. I was based in Berkeley and I recently moved across the country to Philadelphia and have settled here and starting to build my business here, and as well as still working with clients in California a little bit remotely.
Right on, right on. So recently, Brooke, you because you do have this experience as a natural chef and you teach people how to cook, and you were asking, or you shared a blog that talked about kitchen hacks, and I was like, ooh, and you had this whiteboard, and it totally intrigued me. And I think it's so important to make our lives easier in the kitchen. So I thought that's what we would talk about and share some of our little kitchen hacks. And please, I want to just say, anybody that has any kitchen hacks, post them in the comments, educate us, inspire others, inspire us, really. I mean, we love this stuff. And really, anytime you can make your life easier, if you can reach into a drawer and grab something and not have to look for it every time, right? You're saving time. And the same thing goes in the kitchen. And, we don't want to be wasteful of food, and we want to make sure we're using what we're buying. If we really think about from the seed to our table, and all the hands and all the labor and all the, the gifts of the earth that gave us, it's like, gosh, we want to eat that food and we don't want to waste our money and waste the resources on our planet. So I think that's what I'd love to get into with you. So if you want to just share a couple of your kitchen hacks, and I've got a couple up my sleeves, then let's do this.
Sure. So I cook a lot because when I cook homemade food, I feel my best. And so that's why I'm so passionate about helping people just get into cooking. It doesn't have to be difficult. And I, over the years, have come up with just some really simple things that make it easier for me. You, Mary Sheila, you said you might have, so you out there watching might have your own kitchen hack, and I'm always open to learning more. So, but the blog post was specifically about a magnetic whiteboard that I actually leave on my fridge, and I'll just spin the camera a little bit so you can see it. So I'll just take it off. So it's just like a magnetic whiteboard. And so what I find that's so important is things have to be visible or they just don't exist to me. Like, I have to see the vegetables in my fridge. I have to see the leftovers. I have to see my spices. I have to, see my pantry items. And if they're lost in the back, like, forget about it. Like, I'm never going to, remember that they're there. So we're all busy. And so my number one tip is to use what you have with your kitchen and try to come up with a way that you can have the most things visible as possible. And so a quick tip is I have like a little shelf, a makeshift shelf. I literally made it out of just old boxes that I stack. I have things in mason jars. Actually, I'll show you. So I'll buy things in mason jars, and then it's visible, so it's glass. And then I'll just put them up so that they're on tiers so I can see them all when I open the cupboard. Now, I'm not going to show you my cupboard because it's actually not like a magazine, but you don't have to have it look like a magazine. It can still have organization, but not, you know, it doesn't have to look like it came out of Martha Stewart Living or something. But back to the whiteboard. So I use this whiteboard to write down all the things I don't necessarily see that are in the fridge. So my fridge gets pretty packed, and so I like to keep this whiteboard updated, and there's no right or wrong way to do it, but what I do is I list what is in my fridge, that particularly things that are perishable that you need to cook. So if I have fresh lettuce or fresh veggies, and I'm like, I definitely want to make sure I do not waste those, that I use them, I always write them on here.
What does the in the fridge list say, just because it's hard to read?
So it says in the fridge, and then I actually listed some recipes, some leftovers in there. So there's a sardine salad and the kale salad.
Okay.
And then underneath are just ingredients. So broccoli, cauliflower, romaine, sauerkraut, cabbage, parsley, and cilantro. All things I want to use.
Okay.
And then I'll also list like in the freezer. So, you know, I had a client who was like, my freezer is a scary place. I don't like to go there. And I completely understand, but the freezer is also a great tool to use. And if you can figure out a system that works for you, I think it can be really great in making sure that you have things ready to go. So in my freezer, I just listed, like, I have lentil veggie stew, I have a chili, I have edamame, which I always forget about, so I wrote on there. I have some frozen halibut and some salmon, and I have some ground pork. And so I know, like, you know, I cook enough that I can look at my ingredients and say, can I throw some of these together? But I don't always have it together. So I also sometimes make a list of things I'd like to make. So this weekend, I sat down last night and thought, okay, this weekend, what do I want to make? And I have these things already. And I wrote down, I want to make a cabbage soup. It's Rebecca Katz's cabbage soup. I want to make a broccoli cauliflower soup, a Greek salad, and a curried chicken thighs, because I kind of want to get ready for the next week on Sunday. And so then I go through and I note what I already have, and then I note what I don't have of these things that I need to buy. So I need to get chicken and some olives and red onion and feta and bone broth and a couple other things. So it's just like a really, you know, you don't have to have an app. You don't have to have all these high-tech things. I just use this, and it's really, like, if I go to the store, I'll often take a picture of it. And then I have my list, or I'll just write it down again. And one more thing I use this whiteboard for a lot, actually, is I don't take the same supplements all of the time, but a lot of times I do, you know, I'll take a supplement for a month or two. And because I don't continuously take the same thing, I forget. So I'll write down, this week I'm focusing on, and so it's sauerkraut, iron, magnesium, and vitamin D. And that's a reminder, like, oh yeah, you wanted to focus on those this week, so this is your reminder. So I'll put that there. It's kind of nice because it just sticks to the fridge. It's super easy. It's fun. I have a little dry erase, you know, eraser and marker. You can get different colors if you're like into color coding. But yeah, just in a nutshell, I find that really helpful, and you can make it work for you. I mean, that's just an idea, but having the visual on the fridge, it also saves energy because I'm not opening up and standing like with everything that is open. So it's one of my buys that I'm really happy that I invested in. It doesn't cost much.
Yeah, I want to give you a high five. That is so awesome. Woo! And you know, it's funny because my refrigerator doesn't have it's not magnetic.
Oh
So I'm
no.
like, how can I make that work for me? But I love that idea. And it reminds me, there's another nutritionist friend of mine. Her name's Thais Harris. So a little shout out to you, Thais. She has a thing where she calls shopping your fridge. And she says, oh, let Google shop your fridge. So let's say you took 3 of those ingredients, like maybe the ground pork or the salmon, and then maybe 2 or 3 of the vegetables, and you threw those in the Google bar and you said recipes, then all the different recipes with those would come up, and then you can even create something new from it, which is kind of fun too.
I love that. Yeah, because a lot of times you have ingredients, you're like, I'm not inspired. I don't know what to make. That is a great idea. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you put your supplements on there because, as a practitioner, we probably both have clients where they're like, I keep forgetting to take my things. And I love that you're like, I'm focusing on, and, we know maybe all the actions that like vitamin D or iron or whatever have, but if you are just, if you're not a practitioner and you're kind of like, I'm not that sure, but you sort of start to know, oh, like, iron's really good for energy if I'm feeling really low, or I know I'm not getting enough protein, or I know I'm anemic, and vitamin D is really good for the immune system, and it's better to take in the winter if I'm not getting as much sun. So you start to learn a little bit about what they need, and you take them for a little bit. And sometimes naturally not taking a supplement is maybe because you don't quite need it as much anymore as you did. So you're kind of like giving your body the dosage, and then, maybe then your cells get a bit of what they need. It's different for everybody. Some people, they need things more longer term for whatever deficiencies, or their doctors put them on something. And of course, you could always run that by your doctor, but I like that as a personal thing to do for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been really helpful for me. I'm a nutritionist, but I'm also just a person, and I forget too. So that's been really helpful.
That's awesome. So, okay. So I'm going to share a couple of my hacks, which I think, yours is probably like the cream of the crop. But one thing that I love to do is when I have like, same kind of thing, like reminders or recipes, like I used to make kefir all the time. And for the life of me, it was just making sure I always got the proportions right away, right when I was making my water kefir. Or if I make like something I make regularly, or I want to be reminded, I'll put the recipe right on the inside of my cupboards. So they're there for me to see, and I've got it. So I've got stuff. I even, kind of put some of the school calendars for my daughters there. But actually, that's a handout. One handout is from one of my former students at Bowman, and it was her like lunch ideas. And then another handout of mine of just like snacks and things. So it was when I was making lunches for my daughter every day. Just as reminders. On the other side, I had my kefir recipe and a couple other recipes. I was just with a client the other day, and she just got a new Instapot, and there's like kind of at a glance these really beautiful pages of like just kind of exactly how long the beans take or the meat takes. And I said, you know what, I said, break that up and put them on your cupboard so that you have that. So it's just at a glance, it's quick, it's easy. It's not like, where's that recipe book, or how long do I cook this for? Because sometimes like that can stop us in our tracks. The other thing that I've been recently doing, which I think is probably like a little like Marie Kondo style. Well, number one, we've been labeling our things. So when you're living with other people, you're like, why are you putting the vinegar here, and when it usually goes here, and then then I find it down here, and then I'm spending 5 minutes looking for it. So if things are labeled with just simple labels on your shelves, then it's just easy for everybody to start getting into the pattern and habit of putting it back where it belongs, right?
Right.
Not searching. And then, like I was saying with the Marie Kondos, I just started using just even simple little cardboard boxes. Like I've got a lot of different spices. I like to buy spices at the herb store, and for teas, or for when I make broths, or when I'm, cooking stuff up, whatever. So I've got them all in one place instead of all randomly, because when you start using different ingredients, things can just pile up there. And then I also know what I have, and I can look through it. And I love your idea. I feel like even on the inside, I could do maybe some labels of like what I have as I put things in there, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I started just even getting more organized with, like, we had this random shelf thing somewhere, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna put all my spices on it. So again, I can pull one thing out, I can use stuff, and then I can put it back in. And it just makes life easier. I just put all the baking supplies, because we don't bake as much lately. I mean,
Yeah.
baking is fun, but baking usually requires sugar and flour. And if you're really not doing as much of that, you know, so I just put them all in the box and kind of put them in a separate little pantry, because, you know, there's always a space issue in a kitchen, right?
Right.
So
I love that.
of my my hacks, which you know, I don't know if that inspired you to think of anything else that you do in your kitchen.
No, I mean, I love that. I had not thought. So I have a pretty small spice cabinet. It's actually like right here, and it's not organized. I don't know if you can see, but there's spices way back there. I don't know, and I love the idea of listing them here.
Yeah.
So I want to do that. I also just
and then I would say, Brooke, getting, like, next time you get like a shipment or anything, and anytime you have little boxes,
yeah,
the tops off the little box, you know, like the things, and then you can just use it. And then, you know, you can maybe have all of, I don't know, just you can categorize your spices a little bit, like, oh, here's all my Italian spices and my, you know, more Latin Mexican spices when I'm making Mexican food, or if I'm making curries. You know, it does help to kind of have a little bit of that going on.
I love that. Yeah, I love the box idea. And I mentioned this earlier, but it's really, I really like having some sort of tier system, because I have a really big pantry and things get lost in the back. So I said this, I just take boxes and I put them all on the back, so that when it doesn't even have to be in a jar, whatever ingredient I have, even if it's like, you know, a bag of something, it just sets up so then I can see it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be some fancy, you know, setup. It's just like you're saying, boxes. So it's really helpful for the visual.
Totally. I know I had a client recently, and I was at her house and we were cooking together, and she had a really wide cupboard, and she opened it up and all of her spices, and she said her son's friends calls it the Spice Cathedral. And she did the same thing, but she actually did it with wood. She built like just different, and it was super simple. I don't know that she like hammered and nailed it all together, but she just had, like, you know, one piece of wood and then another piece of wood, another piece of wood. So she had 3 pieces of wood, and so that the spices each had their own shelves, and you could just find everything. I took a picture of it and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then when she called it the Spice Cathedral, I was like, oh, yes. You know, like, wow, it's really cool.
I love that. I also keep things I use very often, like olive oil and salt. I keep them out in a little tucked away area. So I just always leave those things out. And one thing to be careful of is make sure I never store spices above heat source. So I try to keep like all of the stuff far enough away from the stove that they're not getting warmed a lot, because it will make them go bad faster. But you work with what you have. But there's often ways to like get around stuff. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Well, awesome. Yeah, it's so true. Like keeping your salt out, you know, in a little thing, and options. So, well, awesome. Let me just look around my kitchen and see if there's anything else. I think that's pretty good. Yeah. And I know one other hack, actually. This is the same person who had the Spice Cathedral shared with me. And this is like for anyone who's building their kitchen or remodeling their kitchen. And choose drawers over cupboards as much as you can, even if you end up like losing some corner space, because when you have to open a cupboard and look for a pot or a pan or whatever, it's like you have to kind of sometimes pull everything out. But if you can open the drawer, even like a big drawer, you can see everything, and you can get all the way to the back by just opening the drawer. And gosh, when she told me that, I was like, oh.
Ask yourself, how can I make this as easy as possible for myself? And it might take a little bit more work up front. Like when I shop, I have to come home and write this down. But in reality, it doesn't take that much longer, and it really helps me be efficient with using everything that I have. And it also it's fun. I mean, you want to make cooking fun, or else you're not going to want to do it. So I love to like come up with, if I eat out and I'm like, I loved what I ate, I want to try to find a recipe just like it, like, and I'll write it on the whiteboard as at some point get to this, because it just looks fun. And so I encourage people just to make things easy on yourself, and if it's easy, hopefully it becomes more fun for you, which is kind of the whole point. So
nice. Yay. Well, thank you so much, Brooke. And again, Brooke has a great blog where I'm sure you share stuff like this. And then when you send out emails, you have some of your cooking videos in your emails, right?
I do blog posts and some social media posts, and I'm working on videos now. And I just want to get everybody cooking. I want everyone to feel like, I feel like sometimes people think cooking is like this big thing and they can't do it. And I just want people to know that's absolutely not true. Everyone can cook, and I want to give people resources so that they can just start small, or maybe you're more advanced and you want to do more complex things. There's room for everyone, and I try to provide resources for that.
Brooke is going to show us how to make a super easy blender sauce, and it's an alternative to peanut sauce.
Yes. Okay, great. So I actually got this idea and recipe from my chef training at Bowman College. So it's an adaptation of a recipe that we learned there. The reason, really, it's like peanut sauce is so great for any kind of like Asian flavored dish. So I love this to make for stir fries. I love to make it, even if you thin it out a bit, it's a terrific salad dressing if you want to do like a kind of Asian inspired salad. It makes a great dip for, veggies or different crackers or whatever that you want. So it's really versatile, and it's actually super easy. A lot of peanut sauces call for cooking, but this is just like no cooking, just blender. And the almonds are a nice, just something different, and an alternative to peanuts. So peanuts can be a little bit inflammatory. They sometimes can have mold in them. So I wanted an alternative for people who are especially sensitive to peanuts, so they can enjoy like a peanut sauce without the peanuts. So I know, Mary Sheila, you can't have almonds. So we had talked about this, that something like tahini would be a great alternative to even almond butter in this recipe. So you can really try any kind of nut or seed butter in this. And they're all going to have a little bit of different flavors, but they're all going to be really good. So let's get to it. I just want to show you all how to do this because it's actually incredibly easy. So I kind of have, like a cooking show, I kind of have everything ready. And I have my recipe right here, but this is what it calls for. 1 cup of almond butter, or in Mary Sheila's case, tahini, 2 inches of fresh ginger, 2 garlic cloves, 1/4 cup of tamari, which is a soy sauce without gluten. It's a gluten-free soy sauce. 2 tablespoons of lime, water, and optional if you like spicy is a jalapeno. Ooh. So I'm just going to add this to my blender. I have a high-speed blender. It's a Blend Tech. I don't have a Vitamix, but don't let this stop you. If you have a different blender, you can 100% use that. If you have a food processor, it will work in there. Just anything that will kind of help you spin everything up. So I measured out the 1 cup of almond butter. So I'm just going to put that in here first. You might need a little help. The different nut butters, they can have different consistencies. So that's where at the end we'll figure out how much water we need to add depending on how thick or thin the nut butter is. So I just added that to the blender. I'm going to put this over here. And it's just a, unsweetened almond butter. So any unsweetened almond butter with the ingredients just being almonds is ideal. So I'm going to cut the lime. Oop. Got this fancy squeezer. So it's 2 tablespoons. One. So exactly half a lime for me. I don't know what about for you, Mary Sheila?
Well, I just squeezed the whole thing in.
Nice. It's going to be limey and delicious.
I know, and I love the flavor of lime, actually.
So I'm going to put in my tamari, which is 1/4 of a cup. It's very salty, so you don't need to add salt.
Oh, right. And I was going to use my Vitamix, but I thought, well, not everybody has a Vitamix. So I just thought I'd use my magic bullet.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, don't ever let not having the equipment stop you. There's often a way around it. Just chopping garlic right now.
Oh, perfect. Oh, yeah, I didn't even chop.
You don't even have to chop it. You can just throw it in.
Right.
But
and if you didn't have a blender, so what I'm doing is I'm taking my ginger and just using the microplane just to make it real simple.
Throw it in. Ginger. So I'd say that's about 2 inches. Ginger, I don't know, Mary Sheila, if you experience this, but ginger can be very stringy. So I will usually peel it with a spoon. And sometimes I don't, if it's a fresh piece of ginger, sometimes I don't peel it. But this is I feel like this one needs to be peeled. It's a little, I'm going to cut some of these pieces off. But if you don't like the stringy, I would roughly chop it. But if you don't mind, you can just throw it in whole.
Perfect. And I just put a piece of the jalapeno, not the whole jalapeno.
Yeah, just use, and I would really recommend tasting the jalapeno before you put it in so you have an idea of how hot it is.
Right. I have spicy family members who like things very spicy, so.
That's jalapeno, so I'm throwing that in there. Okay.
So I'm doing bad, and I'm not measuring anything. I'm just throwing it in.
Go ahead, do it.
But I think it's okay.
It's going to be loud.
You can go to her blog. She's got an awesome blog. And probably if we weren't doing this on air, I might go a little longer after we're done. But I'm really excited to see what this is going to taste like, though.
And then just add water depending on what consistency you want it. So that's what's going to be up to what you like.
I can really taste the jalapeno in mine.
I can come out depending how strong. Let's see. That's so good.
If I wanted it to be a little sweeter, I could even throw a date in there and blend that into it. And that might kind of round it out, which I did just get some dates from that came from Palm Springs recently. So I might just do that.
Do it. Yeah, that's the key. Taste it and then adjust. Because if something's not to your liking, all you have to do, you might add a little bit more lime, or you might add a little bit more jalapeno, or need a little bit more water and a little sweetness, and you can make this whatever you'd like it to be.
You could just spoon it up and enjoy it. I'm cooking some wild rice tonight for dinner, and I'm throwing in some leftover protein with it and some different veggies. And I'm thinking now I'm going to go on the little Asian side and have this as a sauce to pour over it.
Yeah, I have some red cabbage that, you get a big head of red cabbage and it's hard to use it all. And I'm going to saute some and just simply use this as a little drizzle. I think it's going to make it really nice and simple, and maybe some rice noodles, some cilantro.
Awesome.
Some sort of salmon. You could throw this on some salmon. It'd be delicious.
I love it. I love it. So you can link to Brooke's recipe right there. And you can sign up for her blog, and she's got a lot of great kitchen hacks and videos and all kinds of things. And thank you so much. This was super fun. And thanks for sharing your expertise in the kitchen.
Sure. Thanks for having me. And everybody get into the kitchen and make some almond sauce or any sauce you want. And it's worth it. 100%.
Awesome. Thanks, Brooke. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
watching. Bye.
Bye.